As the 2018 football season is now officially underway, it's been a rough couple of weeks for the NFL. Over the past week, fed-up fans have proven they are sick and tired of witnessing these anti-American protests, and empty stadiums at several games over the weekend spelled disaster for the NFL of things to come. As NFL officials are frantically trying to do damage control as their protesting athletes are turning fans away in droves, they now have a new nightmare on their hands after a brand new version of nasty anti-American protests just started, led by a Seahawks player who's now doing an unthinkable act of racism towards white players on the field. Seahawks defensive end Michael Bennett was the first NFL player to protest this season, where he's been vocally leading nasty anti-American protests ever since. Shortly after signing a $30 million contract with the Seahawks, Bennett still somehow felt oppressed as a black man living in America, and decided to sit on his ungrateful behind during the game against the Los Angeles Chargers back in August. While it's these players' First Amendment right to be ungrateful and disrespect every American soldier who has fought, bled, and died to preserve their freedoms, now Bennett is taking his antics to a startling new level. Not satisfied with quietly sitting on the sideline while the national anthem plays, Bennett is now raising the Black Power salute every time he sacks a white player on the field, a disgusting racist symbol that black supremacists have used for decades to display their supremacy over the white race. During the second quarter of the game against the 49ers over the weekend, Bennett celebrated tacking white quarterback Brian Hoyer by flashing the Black Power fist into the air. This gesture was a head nod to black supremacists around the country, where the all-black media confirmed Bennett's actions were a pro-black power gesture in the following tweet. It's one thing to kneel or to sit quietly by yourself on the bench while the national anthem plays. It's another thing entirely to disrupt the game with your protests, and then display your anti-white sentiments by flashing a Black Power salute. Could you imagine the backlash if a white player was flashing Nazi salutes on the field every time they sacked a black player? Not only would the white player be receiving death threats by every liberal in America, but they'd be permanently suspended and have their multi-million-dollar contracts revoked. The Black Power fist is an infamous symbol of racism that black hate groups have used for decades. The Black Panther Party uses this gesture frequently, whose leader Khalid Muhammad called on his followers back in 2012 to kill all white babies, in a disgusting terroristic tirade that you can read in its entirety here. Players protesting their perceived injustices towards blacks is one thing, but Bennett's defiant act of racism towards white players on the field is absolutely startling. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has a complete nightmare on his hands, as he had the opportunity during the preseason to condemn these protesters' actions, but disgustingly, put the problem back on the fans, demanding that fans be more understanding of the protests. Now these protests have metastasized from players simply protesting the national anthem to all-out defiant acts of racism towards white players on the field. Not only does Bennett apparently hate white people, he hates police officers too. Several weeks ago he tried to push the ridiculous nonsense that he was a victim of racial profiling by Las Vegas police, after his suspicious activity of hiding under a game at a casino while authorities were looking for a black shooter led police to arresting him for a short period of time. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Undersheriff Kevin McMahill remembered the incident a little differently, saying that officers were searching for a possible active shooter at the Cromwell Casino when they located Bennett crouched down behind a gaming machine, Conservative Tribune reported. It looks like empty stadiums will now become more of an issue for the NFL as outraged fans are now sending the clear message that they have better things to do with their time other than being bombarded by these disgusting acts of disrespect and racism on the football field every time they turn on the television or go to a game.